Ooh! Yo, he knew! So both he knew and oh my god, they know. Oh, clever. Clever. Because he realizes he can trust. We're reaching a turning point, this is what I'm saying. The most brilliant thing about Go-Go Loser Ranger this week is how they immediately get you suspicious that Hisue knew who D was. Because he asks, like, hey, you also don't remember anything, right? And she's like, nah, I don't remember anything. And then she gives the most ominous glare known to man, and you're like, oh, she knows. And she probably does still know, but your focus is going to be entirely on that of waiting for the shoe to drop, waiting for her to come out and say, I'm going to kill you, or why are you doing this? And then the rest of this episode carries on what was the main plot of season 1. Well, we're going to go kill Greenkeeper. We're going to go kill the Keepers. That's our mission. But all throughout the journey, our boy is hesitating. He's getting more concerned. He's like, I hate the Keepers, but why do I gotta go ruin a family? There's innocent bystanders. He's very much clearly showing more humanity than the human next to him. And the fact that when the moment happens, the shoe drops, and Green's like, hey, bitch, why don't you kill me? Why don't you do it, my boy? He had a little gecko on him this whole time, and that's how he knew. And the crazy thing is Greenkeeper already being the anomaly that he is. I'm still shook that that's his identity. I honestly think he might allow D to just continue. Which maybe people want to argue would be dumb because, like, it's clearly an enemy. But at the same time, clearly the enemy is not acting like the enemy. And I love how he insults him, being like, you can't even decide who your enemies is. Like, that's just pathetic. They're already setting in motion characters who I thought were just complete scumbags during the exam arc, as being probably the allies we could look at as maybe knowing who we are, knowing our identity, and actually saying that maybe not all dusters are evil and that maybe it's a complex situation. The overall future is very conflicting, but I almost feel like what they're trying to build into is, of course, the main takedown will be Red Keeper. Like, that does have to happen. And I think plenty of the boss monsters. But I think, well, maybe one or two of the Keepers won't make it past this. Red, of course, is one of them. Maybe another Keeper like Green doesn't make it just because of a sacrifice. But I think we're building into that restructuring ending, rather than just simply saying the Dusters have to win or the Keepers have to win over the Dusters. I feel like it's a situation of purging the corrupt on both sides and making some sort of new peace. We're already seeing the protesters in the show basically saying justice for the monsters. So, like, there's already human support for these monsters. And I think it's going to be very fascinating where they go with it. And I truly believe Dee's characterization is the best part of the show so far. I think I mentioned it in last week's video or the video before, is that I have seen the criticism, and hey, people are allowed to have this criticism even if I disagree with it, that they prefer the plot line of him just being like, I'm going to go kill the Keepers, right? Like, that's his thing. But to me, it's far more fascinating watching someone who was basically raised as a killing machine grow empathy, grow compassion, and adjust. And if you're like, it would be different if D was like, okay, he's been here for a couple of weeks maximum and he's already changing, but he's been here for a hot minute, right? Like, he's seen a lot, he's experienced a lot, and it's not like it's just been a couple of days and he goes from monster killing to, I think I might actually be friends with these people. He's literally adjusting as I think anyone with a consciousness would. And while, yes, they're dusters, they do evaporate and disintegrate and come back, but at the end of the day, they have a personality no different than a human. So is it impossible to say they wouldn't also grow compassion along the way? I think especially given the death of Blue Keeper, that's kind of like the turning point of Dee's character, if you ask me, and everything we've seen post that moment. The show has legitimately gotten better to me, and I refuse to be gaslit into believing that this is the weakest season. And I'll continue to die on that hill. Best season, best arcs, best moments, and the show has gotten progressively better. I think there was like one point midway through Core 1 where maybe I'd say is a little weaker than the rest, but for the most part, I think the show has been a steady climb up, if not skyrocketing at certain points. And I mean, I thought last week's conclusion to that arc was fantastic. I think even more crazy this week. I really like Greenkeeper. I do expect Greenkeeper to probably die, but I don't think it's going to be a death of revenge. I think it will be more of a sacrifice. And then it will be the passing of the torch to our girl Hisue. I feel like is what we're building into. But either way, Red's gotta die. Like, we know that. And I don't think it will be too long before maybe at least one of the keepers, maybe Green's like, wait a second. Red's a little unhinged. Maybe we should do something. But at the same time, Green also kind of seems like he's on the path of, like, you have to know who your enemies are. So therefore, Red would never be his enemies, and the Dusters and the bosses would. But at the same time, a Duster is who helped fight a boss. So it's like, where are we going with it exactly? I don't know. But this definitely changes everything. Like, had it just been her, like Hisue, who, like, knew, it'd be a little different. But the fact that a Greenkeeper is so seemingly cool, calm, and collected, and I don't get the impression he's like, I'm going to kill you, because it feels like he's like, all right, come back to Green Squad. I'll easily kill you if you screw around, but I'm kind of interested. I want to see what happens. But no matter what, it's different. We have the original Hibiki, who's now making more moves in comparison to the first season, so his plotline's getting much more relevant. And it feels like we're getting closer and closer to the Duster and his storyline overlapping again. I mean, if he would have been there a few moments earlier, he would have been in the school arc, and it would have been fascinating to see how they would have responded. But I guess now we know it doesn't matter because Green already knew he was a fake probably pretty early into that whole exchange. Either way, I'm loving it. I mean, people are free to not like it, but you can't convince me that this is a bad season or that it's weaker or it's gotten more boring. This shit is awesome. It's characterization. The action is still fun. Yeah, sometimes the action isn't the best in terms of how characters are kind of floating around during, like, moving scenes. But in general, I mean, it looks cool as hell. And one of our keepers just has a giant-ass hammer that can enlarge into a giant, I don't even know, like the size of a goddamn globe, and just, it's hammer time. And I think that's cool as hell. I'm loving it. I do worry for D. It's interesting when D has more humanity than some of the humans he's interacting with. But the whole episode and theme was about trust and how maybe things aren't as black and white as we've made them out to be. And it feels like D is closer and closer to having more human allies than I even thought possible, at least by the end of a second core. But yeah, the only thing for sure is that Red needs to, as soon as possible. He's the crutch of the entire issue, and if we just push him over, I think everything kind of falls into place. But let me know your thoughts down below. What did you think of this week's episode of Loser Ranger, and what do you think's going to happen now that his identity is heavily exposed? Do let me know. Leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new around here, of course, ring that bell, and of course we got those full live reactions over on my Patreon, and hey, while you're over there, I'll also give you a video shout out. Alright, so today we got Sophia Palmieri, JD, Ollie Best, Match, and we also have Mates. I appreciate the support, everyone. Please take care. Remember to preach the good truth that Go Go Loser Ranger is still worth watching. Have a good one.